Okay, so the new bit of square aluminium's turned up, so I can now carry on with the tool rest and hopefully get it finished today, and we might get it up and running. So let's see exactly what we're going to need to do. Okay, so I've basically laid it out as it might be, and I'm going to put these two 12mm bolts in to bolt it together, and obviously the bracket will go on the end there. I was going to weld it, but I can't be bothered to get my spool gun out just to do two little welds, so these bolts will do. And I reckon if we use about 7 inches, we should have absolutely plenty there. And then we'll have quite a bit left over for if we want to make anything else, any other tool rests or whatever. So let's see if we can cut 7 inches off. Just make sure it's laying flat on any swarf. Now put my chalk down somewhere, I can't find it. Box of chalk, and I keep getting bits out and I put it down and I can't find the damn stuff. Alright, here we go. Alright, 7 inches. Let's mark it off there. It's only got to be roughly. Doesn't need to be 100%. Okay. Let's see if this will cut through. Aluminium's a right pain to work. I'm glad I don't work it all the time. You can see it sort of starts to cut really nicely there, and then all of a sudden the teeth bung up and it starts to bind, and you can see it's the steam coming off the back. It's really binding up and there's bits stuck on the side. It's a real bugger of a stuff. Now it won't go through at all because the teeth are all chopped up with blooming bits, and then all of a sudden it goes. So I don't know. So I'm glad I don't use it all the time. Right, so I'm going to set it, it's 7 inches, so we're going to put 3.5 either side, sort of thing, from there. So if I mark, well, let's mark where it's going to go first, just so that I've got a visual idea. Right, that's the middle. And if we just mark the centre, go from both sides so we make sure it's in the middle, and that's the first hole across there. So if I do the same on this bar and then put them back to back, we should have the holes in the same place. So we put them together like that. Do that one from that side, do the other one from the other side. Now I'm going to tap the smaller bit. I'm going to just have through holes on the larger lump. So let's see if we can get it clamped up. Get over to the drill. Alright, I've got it clamped up. Got a drill in. I'll give it a go. Whoa! There's something seriously wrong there. That drill is as blunt can be. That ain't going nowhere. Have a little look. Yeah, that wants one of my sharpening jobs done on that. Alright, let's get this other one in. As if by magic. It's really hot here today. It's up in the 30s. It's about 31 degrees, which some may say that's not that hot, but you know, we were down in the 10 degrees a couple of weeks ago, if that, a week ago. You just don't get any chance to acclimatise, so it's a little bit stifling today. And you can see that swarf is catching on that drill. It's not clearing. It really doesn't clear well off. So I'm trying to persuade it to clear, and you can hear the drill sort of pulling down when it's getting tight. I'm surprised it's not snapping the drill instead. It's really stuck in there in those flutes. Get the other one out. So let's get my cutting paste, cutting fluid. That might just ease it up a bit. Some people use kerosene, paraffin, or all sorts on aluminium. But as I said in my previous videos, I don't use aluminium a lot, so it's not worth me getting anything specific. And one guy did comment that some cutting pastes or fluids aren't suitable for aluminium, but actually this one is. But it still sticks. You can see how that swarf is stuck in that groove. Really is. Now I've got to figure out how to move this around to get to the other hole and still keep a bit of a bearing on it, because that ain't gonna work there. That's too sloppy. I won't be able to keep that particularly level. No, don't like that. Hang on, let's have a think. I'll tell you what, let's move the wood. That's the way to do it. Yeah, that'll work a treat. It's so bright today, the camera's having difficulty to know what to expose for. It's sort of exposing for the aluminium, which is sort of reflecting the light like crazy today. So everything else is a little bit dark, but I hope you can still see what's going on. Yet more drilling. I'm going to wean you off the drilling and tapping. I really am, because hopefully this is going to be the last video of the actual build. There will be another video, but that'll be the painting and the final fit up. Well, no, not the final fit up, but you know, once it's all painted and looking shiny. But hopefully this will be the last one when it's all up and running. Right. Okay, let's take them apart. So there we've got the corresponding hole on the back. Push that one right through. It's really weird, this stuff. I'll have to look it up actually. It's 6082, this aluminium. I don't know if it's got any particular properties or peculiarities, but it's quite tough stuff. It's you know, normally aluminium sounds a bit dead, a bit dull, but this actually sounds quite sort of ringy. If you understand what I mean? There's quite a ring to it when you tap it on anything. So I will look it up. Alright, so we're getting there. You just got to be really careful, because especially with these small drills, so it does bind up. Like I say, it's pulling the drill down, but it wouldn't surprise me if it would just snap the drill like a carrot on these little ones. So far it hasn't, but it could quite easily. Not so much on the big ones, it's more likely to bind up and whip your hand around. Or slip in the chuck. Alright, this is my 12mm tapping size, 10.2. Drop the speed now. And put my grips on it, just in case it does bind up. Try and whip my hand around. This drill's nice and sharp. It's going to go through pretty easy, but it still feels like it's tightening up a little bit at times. That's that one through. Next one through. Bit of jollop. Help the things go around. As I said earlier, I was going to weld these up, these two bits together, but my spool gun is quite bulky. I keep it at home, and get it all the way back to work just for two little welds isn't really worth it, so I'm going to bolt it. Right, now I'm going to put through the clearance size, which is 12.4. So that's just give my bolts a nice bit of clearance. Right, I've just looked up 6082. It's a medium strength alloy with excellent corrosion resistance, has the highest strength of the 6000 series. 6082 is known as a structural alloy, commonly used for machining. Oh, well, there you go. So it's going to do the job, put it that way. Right, almost there. Now I'm going to counterbore these holes so that the bolts sit nice and flush, because A, they're not long enough, and B, it'll get them out of the way. So I've got this drill which should be just about big enough, but it's got a taper on it, so I'm going to have to knock the chuck out. So let me just do that. If I can find a... Right, what happened there? I found something to knock the chuck out, put the drill in, and forgot to turn the camera on. And A, it wasn't big enough either. It was just a gnat's too small, and the bolts were binding. So I've just found this drill, which is a absolute gnat's nadger bigger, and it's just perfect now. So there you go. They're in flush. Now let's go and tap those. Yes, more tapping. Yay, they all say. Right, again, the light's working against me today. The aluminium's really dictating the exposure of this shot, so sorry about that. I didn't realise at the time. I'll have to have a little look, see if I can set the exposure rate rather than let it do it automatically. Right, it's going through quite easily. It's still, you've got to be careful that it doesn't suddenly bind. But this one's going through nicely. I think I'm going to back it off though, because it's getting a bit tight. Put a bit more jollop down there. I think I'm almost through. I could have probably risked it, but I don't want to break the tap. You can see how much swarf was in the flutes. Only needs a little bit to bind and you're buggered. I know I keep going on about this aluminium and binding up, but it's a real new one on me, because I don't, as I say, I don't use it. It's just a bit of a warning for people. Don't treat it like you would a bit of steel. Alright, so that's the first one. I promise I will wean you off these. The next ones I'm not going to show you. Just try and get that straight. It's not quite there. Get my big head in the way to eyeball it up. That one's going through nicely. You can feel that one. That feels nice and smooth. I don't know whether it's just got nicely lubricated or whether that portion of aluminium's slightly different, but that's going through a treat now, and you can see the swarf pouring out the bottom of that one. That one went well. Right, clean her up. Let's have a little look, see if the bits will fit together. Find the other bolt. This bench has got so messy. I've got so much stuff on here from this job, from this project. I've just not cleaned up. Keep putting stuff down and it merges into the background. Find my Allen keys. Whiz them down. Again, once this is all finalised, I'll probably Loctite things like this. Nice and level. But as I say, at the moment, the whole job is literally just a temporary fit up to make sure everything works and everything's in line. Right, so stick it back in. There we go. Now that can't go any further than that because the end of it catches the motor, so I might actually put a little chamfer on the back of it, sort of put a 45 degree or maybe less, just so that it'll go back a little bit more. Not that it needs to, but just so it will. Alright, so it's going to go approximately there, but a little bit higher up, about 5/16 higher up, because of the brackets. So that's as far as that one will go, but it doesn't need to go any further back, but I will make it so that it does go a little bit further back. Alright, so it's going to go roughly there. Let's clamp it up temporarily. Right, so what's the next job? Is get the brackets on, I suppose. So I need to sort of drill and tap them first, I suppose. See how much I've gained. Well, obviously I've gained 1.5 inches, so I've now got a good 6 inches there, which should be ample. Absolutely ample. And it's virtually the whole of the platen. Right, so we've got to drill 2 holes, one straight through for a 10mm bolt and one tapped 8mm for the adjuster. So they're going to go about there. So I'm going to do them without showing you and come back and the drilling and tapping will be done. So, as if by magic, they're done. Drilled and tapped. I've only got one bolt holding that because that's all I'll need once it's all up and assembled. So I'm just going to put this on and mark it where it's got to go, because I want to grind off the mill scale before I weld it, So I've just got to get a rough idea where it's got to go. A couple of chalk marks. I'm just going to grind them off. It just welds much better without the mill scale. Well, these particular bits, I don't know if it's something to do with the laser cutting or the type of steel that they've supplied. It's really sticking. It's the flap disc won't even touch it. Normally the flap disc will get the worst off, but flap disc won't touch it. You've got to do it with a proper grinding wheel. Right, that's got that off. So I'm going to put it back on. Find a clamp her up this time in the appropriate position. Just eyeballing it up straight. Of course it moves as soon as I take my eyes off it. Put it about there. Check it again. Make sure that's done up so it's pushed into the right place. Got a little bit of a gap either side, a little bit of a gap down the front. And that should be just about where we want it. So we'll get that up in the vise. Put a tack on there. Right, I'm just going to tack all four corners to start with. I don't want to damage any of the alley, so I'm just tacking it and then I shall take it all apart again. Take my clamp off, undo my little bolt. See, my left hand is working quite well these days. I can actually do that, which I couldn't have done 6 months or so ago. I went to see the consultant a fortnight ago, 3 weeks ago, and he's decided not to operate again, which I'm really pleased about. So we've just got to give it time now. Now that I'm starting to get the feeling back in the first 2 fingers, he thinks the third one should come back. So I'll get this bolt out and give it a tap. And the pain, a lot of the pain has gone. Still a bit swollen at the top of the wrist, but there you go. Right, this is a bit tight because I put a shim in so that it's a little bit looser once it's welded. So that's nice and loose there now. So to stop it pulling outwards when I weld them, I'm going to put this bit of 1.5" timber in there, but it's not quite wide enough, so I'm just going to put these shims in as well. But it's going to be tricky getting them both in. I'll tell you what, let's get this bit of alley out of the vise and put it in the vise. It's going to make life easier. Right, let's just put one shim in and drop it down in between. There we go. Alright, get a clamp on there. I'll just lift it up a little bit so it doesn't burn the wood. And we'll get a clamp on there. I don't want it to pull it in really tight, obviously because it's on wood. It's just enough just to hold it so that when you weld, the clamp's going to hold it from pulling, hopefully. Alright, just put a nice run down each side. I was thinking about getting the old TIG out again and practicing, but I thought, sod it, this needs to be pretty well secure, so I'll do it with the MIG. A little spot of weld there. I don't like these spits and spots. Right, that's just got it still. Let's do the other side. Right. I'm going to see if I need, or if I can, get some welds down through the middle. But I'm going to have to check that the bar won't foul. Yeah, I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. I've got little spits and spots on here today. Haven't really got the welder set up properly, I don't think. But never mind. Right, get the wire brush. Just give it a little clean up. Get rid of all the soots and scale and all the other stuff from welding. Right, I'm going to just clean it up a little bit more. I've got a few more spits and spots. I'll have to cool this out first as well because it's got a little bit hot. I just want to make sure there's no more bits and bobs. Oh, one more there. Cool her out because, as I say, it's very, very warm. Right, cooled out, dried off. Put it back in the vise. Now let's see if we can put this in and make sure that there's going to be clearance so that I can weld down the inside. It's probably not 100% necessary, but I want to make sure it's good and solid. So let's see how it goes. Have a little look. It looks like it'll clear there perfectly alright, so I can run a little bead along there and that should clear it a treat. If necessary, I can just sort of ease the bottom there. So let's give it a blast with the welder. I'm hoping this won't pull in. Hoping that the weld on the outside is enough to stop it pulling in. I suppose really I should have tried to put something up there to hold it, but it's not easy when you want to try and get your gun down the middle as well, to try and put something in there. Anyway, we can always give it a bash if it's moved. A few more spits and spots. That's really got it now. It's not going anywhere. I'm just going to go and cool that off again because that's got very hot again. Right, again, cooled off, dried off. I'm drying this stuff off because it gets rusty at the drop of a hat if you don't. Right, let's see how that goes. Now that's just the very, very corners are just touching the weld. Right on the very, very corners. So I'm just going to quickly whip the corners off with a grinder. Doesn't need a lot, literally just, it could literally be the corners, but I'm just going to round the whole, that edge off a little bit. But that's the bit there, is all it really needs. But just tidy it all up. Right, try again. There you go, you see I've just taken a little radius off there, bolt it back in, and you know what I've done? Today's bloody mistake, it's upside down, isn't it? You wally. So I didn't really need to take that off after all. There, it needs to be off there. So I might as well do that as well while I'm at it. At least it'll look uniform with both sides being done. What an idiot. I've yet to get through one video on this series without making a cock up. Never mind, at least it's not serious. Not something that's terminal. Right, try again. Get my bolt in. There you go. Just put the nut back on there. Just loosely. Let's find my new adjustable knob. Now that runs freely in there, so I've actually got my arc right there on that one. Of course, I don't think I actually needed to take either of those edges off because it doesn't sit. I don't know if it goes far enough. And it goes up to there. Oh yeah, I think it might have just caught those corners, so probably worth doing. Anyway, so that's that bit. Let's just tighten this nylock nut up again. Just pull it in so there's no free play in the plate. No, that's not tight, that's just nipped it up. So it's just started to pull in the plate. It's a little bit tight, I think, still. I'd like it a little bit looser than that, I think. It's just under just a fraction. That's it, you can see that just let go. That's it, perfect. No sideways play, but it's much freer. Okay, so done. Let's get a put in and see if it's going to work. Slot it in the hole. Look at that. Lovely. So, next job, I'd guess, is get a belt on, bite the bullet, and press the switch. Right, I've got an 80 grit here. This is one of the lot of belts I bought before I'd actually sort of started building it. I think 80 is going to be quite useful. I've got some 80s and some 240s, both of which I think will be fairly useful. And I want to pull that down so that the tracking wheel's about level. And so it's poking up a little bit so I can come down a little bit more. That's not bad. That's running fairly true, I think. It's nice and tight. So, get the plug out, the cable out, plug her in. The moment of truth. Let's take a deep breath. Contact. Oh, it's hitting the side plate, but they are. The tracking wheel's working a treat. Look at that. It's running. Tracking wheel's very sensitive, or very accurate. It only needs a gnat's turn and you can see how it moves. Cracking. Got this old knife. Let's just give it a... I don't even know where this came from. It's a right old dog of a knife. I was looking for one that I'd made out of a rasp, a bit of old, sort of a half-hearted attempt. I've got one somewhere and I can't find it for the life of me. Would have been quite a good demo piece, but this will do. It's all I can find that's vaguely blade shaped. I don't know what it's made of, but it's weird sparks. I think it's some sort of stainless. Alright, so what do? They try a coin on there, don't they? See how it vibration free. Of course this isn't going to be, is it? No. Well, it's pointing downhill a bit, but I think a lot of that is the fact that my bench points downhill. So the roll towards me can be forgiven. But never mind, who cares? It runs. I'm pleased with that. So, I'm going to let it run for a few days. I'll use it, see how it goes, see if there's any snagging needs to be done. Anything needs to be altered or any problems that I come across before I strip it down and paint it up. And what I will probably do is do a video of stripping it all. I've got some chemical to strip it, so I'll probably do a video of that, but it won't be for a while, as I say, once I've done the snagging. And then we'll get it painted up and a final put back together with all the bolts and the Loctite and all the rest of it. So let's see if it's useful for anything else. See what else I can find to try on it. Let me just give you a bit of a close-up first. It's all running fairly nicely. Come on, focus. See where a lot of the bolts are missing. I've only put sort of half of them in. That one, come on, focus, focus, focus. No, it won't because I'm zoomed in too much. There we go. Yeah, well, I'm pleased with that. Very, very pleased. First attempt. We've had a few problems, but we've got over them. It looks the part, if I do say so myself. It's going to be very functional. How much I'm going to use it, I don't know, but let's try a finer belt. I've got a let's say 240 here, I think it is. Now, I think some of the vibration problem is the belts themselves. I don't know if all belts are like it. I guess they've got to be. But these belts have got a particularly big join, and as the join goes over every wheel, you get like a clack, 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 clack as it's going over, which is causing a bit of a vibration. And even when you're running something across it, you get the vibration, sort of bang, 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 bang as it's crossing the join. And so I don't know if that's normal. I guess it must be, because you can't have an invisible join. Whether these belts have just got a particularly big join, I don't know. But we'll see in time. Time will tell. I might buy some different ones and see. But these finer belts seem to have a particular, or bigger, much bigger join than the 80 grit. The 80 is not so bad. You don't notice it much, but it's definitely there. This knife's not really ideal for doing this. It's so thin at that end, it's going blue, even though I've just cooled it. And I'm not touching it on the belt very hard. But anyway, it works. So we'll, as I say, give it a go, try it out. Let's see what else we can find to try on it. Right, what I've done, I've just moved the platen back so that the belt isn't clacking quite so much across, and I've put some little rubber feet which I had off a a job underneath. They're not attached yet, but they will be underneath. As you can see, that's taken a lot of the vibration out. It's still there, obviously, but way better than it was. And this is the particularly bad belt that's got the clacking on it. So I think the combination of moving the platen back just a nat, so I only moved it back sort of I don't know, perhaps a 1/16 of an inch, so that the belt isn't running across it quite so harshly. It makes more contact when you use the thing. And the little feet, that's obviously helped, just to take a little bit of the vibration out. You can see there's still a little bit there, but Christ, I'm not worried about that. Not worried in the slightest. Right, let's stick the other belt back on, the 80, and we'll try out a few little bits and pieces, see what other uses it's got. I need to be using it, so I might as well try it out on a few things. Try this, the horseshoe. Now I'm really leaning in that quite hard, and the motor isn't stalling in the slightest. So I think the 2 horsepower, you can see how much that's taken off. That's quite a lot in one go. 2 horsepower was a good choice, I think. It's let's say, not bogging it at all. Yeah, that'd be quite handy if ever I need to do my shoes on there, but I don't tend to use my big grinder before I go out. Let's see if we can sharpen up a nasty old blunt chisel. Put a bit of an edge on it. You can see the difference in the steels. There's a good old sparky bit of tool steel. Yeah, taking it off nicely. Yeah, I think I'm going to find more uses for this than I originally thought. You know, I've always wanted one of these, but would never justify the huge expense that they are on the internet. And I just thought it'd be a good project to video. I'll end up with quite a useful tool, but didn't think I would actually use it very much, but I think I might. Brought that up a treat. Got it a bit hot, but never mind. It's only an old chisel I use for knocking lumps and bumps off. Little bolster. Just going to very, very lightly rub this. It's probably not an ideal situation to be having it facing upwards. If it catches on the join, that's going to really dig in, but I'm only very, very lightly touching that on there because it wasn't really blunt. Now this is a what do you call it? Well, I use it for taking, or did use it, taking mortar off reclaimed bricks. It's made out of an old rasp, and it works a treat for doing the job, taking the mortar off. You whack it on the end. Got a piece of rubber tubing over it for the handle. Yeah, it works a treat. As I say, normally I would be using my Big Bertha grinder, but I think this is going to be quite useful for in between sort of jobs. The Big Bertha's got like a 36 grit on, which is very aggressive. I've got all sorts of grits I can use on this. There you go. So, it's all done. If you've stayed with me through the whole 10 episodes, thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it useful. Hope you found it enjoyable. And I will be putting the plans up in the description, but probably not for a few days until I've modified them.